The story takes place right after the spread of a killer virus. John Wood, a former Special Forces soldier, is interrogated by Commander Stone. He demands to know where the missing 500 people of Westburg are. The town, which had a population of about 5,000, had been afflicted with the virus, and they lost about 3,000 people. 1,500 of them got treated, but the remaining 500 are nowhere to be found. John, who had carried out an operation in that town, tells Stone that the place was empty when he got there. Unfortunately, Stone refuses to believe him.
1.
So he counts to 10 while threatening to shoot Amelia, John's wife, thinking it'll make the ex-soldier change his mind. Despite the threat, John's answer remains the same, and as a result, Stone shoots John's wife. 3 years later, John lives in a rusty old cabin and is still haunted by Amelia's death. There, he lives a lonely life and tries to forget about the past, but Stone's cruel acts haunt him. Back then, Stone and his men later found out where the remaining townsfolk were, and they eliminated them all. John showed up, but Stone had his men take him in a chopper and head to a military ship. On the way, he told John that his wife had to die because she was infected. John refused to believe the nonsense he was saying because he knew his wife wasn't infected at all, and it was just Stone playing safe. John then asked him how many innocents were going to go down for the common good, but Stone told him not to change the subject. He asked John if he knew what was in store for him. After all, John was immune to the infection, so they wanted to find out how. Shortly afterwards, they arrived on the ship and ushered John to a lab. On the way, one of the soldiers made fun of him, saying he was lucky he wasn't in Lapland. If not, he'd be boiled in a sauna and thrown in a frozen lake. John insulted him, but the man told him to save his jokes for later. Shortly afterwards, John lay on the patient's bed with his limbs bound. As the physician tried to inject him with a syringe, John punched him and strangled him till he collapsed. Left alone, John freed himself, and as he made his exit, he came across Stone in the hallway. Surprised, they glanced at each other for a bit, but John quickly threw an object at Stone's face, which cut his cheek. As he bolted for the exit, Stone ordered the ship's exit to be closed. Unfortunately for him, John made it out and attacked the soldiers guarding the door. He easily took them down and made his getaway. In the present moment, while warming himself in a campfire outside the shack, he hears footsteps and sees an injured woman named Maria heading his way. She begs for his help before collapsing on the floor. Left with no choice, he picks her up and takes her inside his cabin. The next morning, she wakes up looking scared and confused. But John shows up and calms her. After assuring Maria he won't hurt her, he tells her she'll need to treat her bullet wound. So he prepares medicine for her and then tries helping her get the bullet out. While at it, she asks for his name and then introduces herself to him. Despite not being a doctor, John removes the bullet. He then notices that it has a tracker embedded in it, so he crushes it and questions Maria, wondering who is after her and how she even got to his place. Unfortunately for him, she passes out due to the immense pain. John then checks her wrist and sees a barcode, which means she was a lab rat. Later that day, while he chops wood outside, Maria comes out of the cabin. There, he tells her she can only stay for a few days because he doesn't want to have any problems. Later that night, John has a nightmare about the past. Back then, he worked with the army and joined in the search for infected survivors to get rid of. The next morning, he wakes up and sees Maria chopping wood despite her condition. So he tells her to take some rest while he continues. Inside, she feels frustrated and restless for not being able to do anything, so she curiously searches his place. Meanwhile, while John continues working outside, 3 men approach him while asking if he has seen Maria. He ignores them at first, but when they tell him she's infected, he tells them they are the first he's seen since the viral outbreak. Unconvinced, their leader orders the remaining 2 to search John's place. With their backs against John, the ex-militant takes down the leader with his axe. He then lodges a pair of shears at the second man's throat. He goes after the third man, who's already gotten into the cabin, but then he hears a gunshot, so he rushes there. To his surprise, he sees Maria holding his gun, and the militant sprawled on the floor. He helps her put the gun away, and then drags the bodies away from his cabin. Next, John goes to his storehouse, and Maria sees a lot of his guns, so she questions his identity. He simply tells her a riddle, and reminds her she's the one the men are after. Maria then offers to help him, so he hands her a mop stick to clean the mess she made earlier. Finally having something to do, she works diligently, but then injures her finger, so she goes through his drawers in search of an ointment, and then sees an empty vial. During that time, Granite and Feldspat, two of Stone's soldiers, notice their men haven't returned from their mission to find Maria, so Feldspat tells Granite that they got KIA. He tells her to send more men, so she takes out her frustration on the foot soldiers, whom she deemed their training was lackluster. Back at the cabin, John learns that Maria had escaped from the military base, so he changes his mind. He wonders why Maria is not showing any symptoms despite being told she was infected. She doesn't fully open up about her condition, but then complains about the pesky soldiers who are after her. John then reveals to her that they killed his wife. Maria feels sorry for him and then leans in for comfort. He holds her hands and then remembers happy moments with Amelia. The following morning, Maria wakes up and sees John building barricades with sandbags. Seeing his countenance, she realizes that he isn't scared. John then tells her that fear is an illusion, but she reminds him that pain is real. She tries getting John to show empathy, but he's locked in and ready to do battle. He fortifies the cabin and sets traps for the inevitable confrontation. Later that night, while sitting at the campfire, Maria tells John that Stone and his men are after the vaccine, so they can monopolize it for themselves. She says it's better if it's given to the people. Confused, John asks her why she's telling him this. Then she reveals she is the vaccine. Realizing that she's not just an average runaway lab rat, John calls her trouble and says he doesn't want any of it. He gets up while looking pissed and heads inside the cabin. Maria then pleads with him to help her, and even if it's not for her sake, but for Amelia's. The next day, while John checks his guns, Maria shows up, so he tells her the weapons need some service. He then watches her as she easily handles the weaponry, so he asks her to tell him more about herself. There, she opens up about her past, saying she was an orphan who graduated from being a petty thief to a robber. She was good at her job till she got caught and sentenced to 10 years in a female penitentiary. While in custody, the virus broke out, killing everyone in the pen, but Maria survived. For that reason, she was taken to the lab. John calls her a jailbird and tells Maria that her barcode tattoo gave him a clue. Later that day, he trains her on how to shoot and tells her to take down anyone because no one is innocent. After the course, John tells Maria to always be alert. During that time, more men from Stone head into the woods, looking for Maria and the infamous tree logger. They lay their eyes on the targets and then tail John to his storehouse, wanting to surprise him. Unfortunately for them, he pulls a reverse and buries bullets in their bodies. Maria, on the other hand, is taken hostage by the last militant. The man then tries negotiating with John, but John shoots him in the leg with an arrow, granting Maria's freedom. Next he takes the man down, who, for some reason or the other, whose bullets don't hit John. With the three out of the way, John drags their corpse into the stall. He then informs Maria that they've got 30 minutes before more men come after them, so they'd better beat it. At the mercenaries' base, Stone and Granite prepare their men for the big operation. John and Maria also do the same. After arming themselves, John tells Maria to get some water, so she goes to the stream. By the time she turns around, she sees a group of mercenaries pointing their guns at her. They scan her barcode, and after confirming she's the one they're looking for, They report to Stone. Suddenly, the sounds of bullets echo through the air, and the victims fall to the ground. John ambushes them from behind and shoots them down. Maria also frees herself and impales one with a stake. While they head back to the cabin, John whines at her for bringing the mercenaries over and not the water he asked her for. They see other people stationed at their place, so they shoot them down. Meanwhile, Feldspot, who survived the attack at the stream, calls Stone and tells him Maria has escaped with her aid. Stone orders him to take down the tree logger, but not harm Maria. At the cabin, John defends his forte, shooting anything moving on sight. Maria also does the same, but she encounters Zahara, a skilled female mercenary. Zahara attacks her while saying she wasn't told to hurt Maria. Maria fights back and eventually shoots her down. Meanwhile, Stone orders his men to block all the cabin escape routes and attack from all angles in small units. As they comb their way through the forest, Maria lays an ambush, while John creeps up close to them and takes them out. At the command base, Granite informs Stone that they are losing men, and their target man seems rather skilled for a log splitter. Based on his skills, she concludes he has a vendetta against them. The operation continues in John and Maria's favor. At one point, Feldspot and his men arrive very close to the cabin, but Maria sets them on fire. Another squad also attacks from a different angle, but the duo takes them down. They catch their breath, and John tells Maria to join him in dragging the men off before supper. Confused, she asks him what the point is, but he tells her that not finding one's fallen comrade is worse than spotting them. With that, they move a lot of bodies away. On the other side, Stone tries to find out how many of his men are left, but when he doesn't get any response, he gets paranoid and yells at Granite to order more men to search for them. The new squad goes to the cabin and finds a tunnel there, so it relays the information to Granite. Granite wonders if her men were in there, so she asks the soldier where it leads. All of a sudden, Maria reveals herself behind the barricade and guns them down. John thanks her and heads into the woods to hunt for soldiers. He uses his bow and arrow to take some out. Granite, on the other hand, who just learned about the tunnel, tells Stone about it, so he orders her to carry out a tunnel extraction. Per adventure, John enters the tunnel. They plan to have another squad block his exit and take him down. Back in the woods, John continues his hunt, but Feldspat attacks him from behind. Upon learning the infamous Timberman is actually John, Feldspat takes out a knife to fight him. The men get into a fight. Feldspat goes for the kill, but John defends himself. He throws a knife at John, but the Timberman evades and fights back. After a lot of struggling, Feldspat knocks John to the ground. Maria, on the other hand, loots one of the fallen mercenaries, but two more show up and order her to surrender. They try to capture her, but she pulls out their knives and stabs them. Another soldier shoots at her, but she uses one of the fallen men as a meat shield before taking the life of the gunman with her knife. John, who isn't that far off, smacks Feldspat to the ground and wrestles with him. But Feldspat hits him and strangles John till he passes out. He then gets an order to capture Maria, so he leaves John and heads straight for her. Meanwhile, Maria, who is already worn out, gets shot by one of the men. She takes him out, but then pulls off her armor and holds her bleeding side. Feldspat sees her and immediately goes after her, unknown to him that John has woken up. Feldspat contacts Stone and heads into the underground tunnel, with the hopes of rendezvousing with his comrades on the other side. Once he enters the tunnel, he tries telling them through the comm that John is the Timberman, but he loses connection. Meanwhile, as John walks through the woods, he hears Feldspat's plan through a fallen soldier's walkie-talkie, so he rushes towards the tunnel. Following Stone's orders, many soldiers head into the tunnel to help Feldspat with the extraction mission. Unfortunately, one of them runs back to tell Stone that Feldspat isn't in the tunnel. Stone angrily shoots the foot soldier down. while wondering what's going on. Feldspat, on the other hand, gets to the base of the tunnel, and he sees John waiting for him. They immediately fight each other, and John initially overpowers him, but Feldspat lands some heavy hits. While their rematch goes on, Stone orders all his men to go into the tunnel. John finally gets the upper hand, and sends Feldspat to the afterlife.
You need to learn how to kill.
Maria shows up shortly afterwards, and they make a run for it. The soldiers gain ground on them, so John and Maria shoot them down. At one point, a soldier with a shield shows up, but they take him down and use his ammo. They make their retreat, but the soldiers give them a hot chase. Suddenly, John spots a small door, and he hides Maria in there. She tells him she can't leave without him, and he shouldn't go, but John refuses and leaves her. He tries to fight off the soldiers, but after seeing how many there are, he maneuvers his way to the surface. There, he sees Stone with a squad waiting for him. Stones is shocked to learn that John is the Timberman, so he orders his men not to shoot him. He tells them John is his friend. John asks him if that's what he calls family, and Stone says, although they are brothers, being a friend is the closest John will ever get to him. John corrects him, reminding him that he can't change his blood, but Stone tells him he's wrong, and that's the reason he has the whole mercenaries. He then asks John for Maria's whereabouts.
Hand her over.
But John tells him she's dead. Stone doesn't believe him, and reminds John that he wasn't good at lying, nor can he kill an innocent person. Granite also tells Stone that they couldn't find Maria. Still, Stone refuses to believe John, and he tells them Maria is simply missing. After seeing how stubborn John is, Stone orders his men to beat John till he confesses. They take their turns. But seeing that John isn't ready to say anything, Stone steps on his fingers and then orders his men to eliminate him. Out of desperation, John riles Stone up by asking Stone to fight him 1 versus 1. Stone accepts and beats John to a pulp. While at it, he says John will finally get to see Amelia again. Fueled with rage, John fights back and beats him to the ground. Stone then grabs a gun from the chopper and tries to shoot John, but John wrestles with him until Stone shoots himself. Right after Stone dies, Granite tells John she wanted to take down Stone herself. She then tries to shoot John, but Maria shows up with grenades. She asks them to take her and spare John, else she'd blow herself up. Seeing it's a win-win situation, Granite and her men whisk Maria in their chopper, and they fly off. John watches dejectedly as the woman he fought for is taken away. Inside the chopper, Granite addresses her men on how she plans to rule the world thanks to Maria. Meanwhile, Maria had written a note to John, stating that there was a vial with her blood in the fridge, and it was her wish for him to use it to cure everyone infected. The end. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.